mein Partner und ich führen euch heute durch die STIHL Timbersports Events. Das ist der Bodi Odermatt und das ist der Benny Fischer. Ich sage euch guten Morgen miteinander. Junge Sportler, die jetzt am Anfang am Wert sind, können doch die richtig unterstützen, weil die sind nervös.
Hey everybody, welcome to this at the Rookie Cup for Switzerland as well as the Men's Pro. And we're going to go back up on the stage. We're going to meet some of the important people that are going to be controlling the situation up there as well as our athletes. So right now going up on stage, we have our International Sports Director, a former athlete himself, Spike Milton.
Sports Director for STIHL Timbersports, verantwortlich als Oberschiedsrichter der Nationals. Applaus! Zweite Schiedsrichter.
Joining him on stage will be two referees today. Of course, the ever-present Bart Janssen will be our head referee on stage, our head judge. And joining him will be Noord van Leech. So we've seen a lot of new judges also joining Bart and the various experts on stage there. And there's a lot of judges in the mix because STIHL Timbersports is expanding exponentially in various countries. And there you see our competition control center and Schul Janssen giving us a little wave there. He is our video judge, very important role with all those high-speed cameras to make sure that we have an absolutely fair competition here today. And now we're going to bring out all of our athletes one by one. And I mean, you know some of these guys. Perhaps you can give us a little bit of insight on some of them on the way. Our first athlete coming out, STIHL Piguet. So there you see some of his details. Not very much. I believe this is actually going to be his one of his first competitions. So we'll see some personal bests for him rocking each time he gets out there.
Exactly.
All right, Romain Berthollet. Did I say that right?
I think so. He's also a new guy.
Okay. I mean, this is what the rookie competition is all about. There you see one Rookie Cup appearance so far, so this will be his second. And then we have Dominic Gygax.
Gigax.
Gigax.
Yes. And he's actually an intermediate because of his age. He cannot compete with
34 years old, so it's a he's competing as a new entrance, but because of his age, he has to compete under the intermediate moniker, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Then we have Benjamin Stegnitz. We have two French guys competing today, and this is his third Rookie Cup appearance now. Joining them on stage, Louis Guinier. All the guys were in here earlier having their pictures taken from Sebastian, one of our photographers here today. So we'll get those pictures up a little bit later on for all of the other graphics and everything, hopefully. Next up, Niels Rolli. So 21 years old, he's been around a bit. You can see there 4 Rookie Cup appearances for him. Bronze medalist at the Swiss Rookie Cup 2022.
That's right. He's definitely going to want to get that Swiss championship here.
And then coming up, Sean Usch. He'll be in his last year officially as a rookie with 24 years old, and he'll either jump to the pro level or the intermediate level depending on how he feels about his skill and how his skill levels pan out, right?
Yes, that's right.
There's a lot of hopes on this young man from France, Loïc Voisin. He's still a rookie and can still stay a rookie, but you could see he's got a lot of experience. Second place at the European Rookie Ranking in 2021. 5th place at the Rookie World Championship in 19 and 22. So he's not far away from making the transition to pro.
No, and he's definitely a favorite here today.
Then we have from Germany, Tim Anthofer. And you see bronze medalist at the German Ford Transit Cup in 21 for the rookies, and this will be his 3rd Rookie Cup appearance. And one more athlete going to be joining them on stage. 10 athletes in total today competing in the Rookie Cup. Ivan Bambushka from the Czech Republic. Now, my question is, do they want to be us to say Czechia, or are they okay with Czech Republic? Because there's a bit of a...
I think we better ask them.
I think so, too. It's a bit of a conundrum at the moment. So there we have our full lineup of athletes on stage. And now, once we got that lineup taken care of, we are going to take a look at the competition format here. And that's our lineup for today. 10 athletes competing for the top 3 spots on the podium. It's going to be a busy day for these young men competing in 4 different disciplines. All right, so like I said, lots of action ready to go today. Yolanda and I are ready to go here, and we are going to take a quick look in a moment at the competition format clip before we get into our first discipline of the day. Here we go.
The STIHL Timbersports Rookie Competition. All athletes will compete in 4 disciplines. The maximum points awarded for each discipline result from the number of participating athletes. The first discipline is the stock saw. The fastest athlete will receive points equal to the total number of athletes competing, down to 1 point for the last place in each discipline. The second event is the standing block chop. Points remain the same, awarded based on times, and as with all events, any rule infraction will result in a disqualification, and the athlete will receive 0 points for that discipline. As the third discipline, every competitor will need to show their skill in the single buck. And in the underhand chop, it's the athlete's last chance to claim valuable points. The points from all disciplines are accumulated, and the athlete with the highest point total wins the competition.
So as you see, it is an elimination format, but because of the use of time, these guys are on stage with each other, competing against each other, but the fastest time counts on the day to accumulate the most points to get into the next round. So the first discipline is the stock saw with the MS661 saw. You're familiar with this piece of equipment. Talk just briefly about what it's like to take this saw and make those cuts.
It is an awesome saw. It is a saw that everyone can go and purchase at home and use and literally do the same thing that we're doing. It's quite exciting to be out there and having that saw, running it, and just listening to the wood to make sure that you get that optimal cut.
All right, so it's not all about strength and power here. It's also a bit about smarts. Let's take a look at the tool and discipline for stock saw.
The STIHL MS661CM stock saw is used in STIHL Timbersports as the ultimate test of operator skill. Designed for the toughest jobs in forestry, it produces approximately 7.3 horsepower, has a displacement of 91.1 cc, and weighs 7.4 kilograms. To ensure evenly and fairly matched saws, professional steel technicians prepare and test the saws before each competition. Stock saw. After the starting shot, the contestants have to cut 2 wooden discs, so-called cookies, within a 10-centimeter mark, one downward and one upward. The attempt is only valid when both discs have been cut off completely and within the marks.
So there we see our stock saw start list. Piguet going up against Berthollet. Gigax against Steignitz, Guinier against Rolli, Oesch against Wanson, Anthofer against Bambushka. And we'll get a list there at the bottom. You can see the season's best and world records for the rookies and the intermediates. So those are some times that these guys are going to be aiming for. Whether it'll happen today, well, that's the big question, and it's about the competition as we get our first heat ready to go on stage. Now, as I mentioned, it's a bit more of a mental thing here, and you mentioned feeling and hearing the wood because it's not just about making a power cut here like with an axe or something, correct?
That's right. It happens so quick that you bog out that saw if you give it a little bit too much pressure.
So here it's about control and listening to that saw as well as feeling the wood, controlling the revs of the saw as well. Just waiting for our judges on stage to give the thumbs up, and then they can start their saws up, and we get that first heat underway and get the butterflies out of everybody's stomachs here today.
Okay, gentlemen, warm up your saw.
Couple of little
Athletes
test lifts,
ready.
and here we go.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Oh, very nice start by both of these guys. It looks like Bertolet's got a nice, very thin first cookie as he transitions quickly to the upcut. It's going to be a good time for him. And it is Romain Bertolet with a clean time of 11.46. Cyril Piguet with a 14.36. Both of them personal best, and these guys have some times locked and loaded.
Yeah, they'll definitely be happy with those personal bests, but we'll see by Piguet, he probably isn't too happy. We'll see it in the slow-mo after.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, both cuts are good.
All right, so times are now official, and you can pick us apart a little bit in the slow-mos and see what the experts in you says about their cuts.
So we can see both of them were very quickly to the saw and then into the wood. But now you can see the transition by Piguet. He kind of hits the log and has to restart.
Oh,
so
I didn't see that.
So that cost you just those few seconds.
But it was a really nice thin cookie on his upcut, so that could have very well been a good time for him had he made a clean transition.
That's right.
All right, next heat coming up, Dominik Gygax going up against Benjamin Stegnitz. The age difference here, quite significant. Dominik, 34 years old. Benjamin, just 18. Last bits of markings and everything on the blocks by our judges. After each cut, they have to reset that 10-centimeter marking because obviously there's pieces of material being cut away. And you can see Benjamin Stegnitz there, marking the block. That's giving him a guideline for that first cut. And also there's, usually they do a line on the front side so they can guide that second cut on the upcut, right?
Yes, each athlete does it a little bit different. Some of them don't mark anything at all. Not sure how they go about that.
I'd be happy if I could lift the saw and not miss the block completely and keep my toes intact.
So and getting that warm-up done properly is also very important, getting the
Athlete
saw running.
ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Oh, really quick start by Gygax there. A little bit of experience at play, I'm guessing, using a motor saw. But Stegnitz has got a very nice, fast first cut. Transition to the upcut is beautiful. Both of them looking good, but it's so, that's close. But it's Gygax with a very nice 13.13 personal best, and a transition for both of them on the upcut was great. But it was Stegnitz who was quite fast on that first cut, eh?
Yes, indeed. I guess he does have quite a bit of experience, even though this is his first appearance at a still competition.
That's interesting. A hole in the middle of the block. I've never seen that.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, stand 1, DQ, jump the gun, stand 2, okay.
Oh, no.
Oh, false start by Gygax. We're going to have to take a look at that in that slow-mo. Hopefully we'll see that.
I thought he was really quick, but I thought it was still within. You can see how quick that he comes off that block.
Yeah, he jumped the gun big time there. What's interesting for me, though, on Stegnitz's block on the upcut, it looked to me like a middle portion of the block actually fell out. It was almost like it got drilled out. I've never actually seen that before. Have you?
No, I haven't.
Let's see if we can see a picture of it here.
Yeah, you can see it by the cookie that's laying on the ground already. There's a piece missing, so it had to
cookie.
fall that
Strange.
that it came out.
All right, so next up we have Louis Guinier going up against Niels Rulli. So both of these guys have personal bests locked and loaded already. Tail of the tape would give Niels Rulli a bit of an advantage, but that's not always going to be rule of thumb here, hey?
Oh no, the stock saw is the event that make or break it.
Yeah, in this case, that's true.
It's the event that usually gets trained the least amount because everybody thinks, oh, it's just a chainsaw. I can use that.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, it's true, though. I mean, everybody could go to the store and buy this steel stock saw off of the shelf and head home and start cutting logs and think, yeah, no problem at all. But it really is about listening to the motor and seeing if it starts to bog down, like you say, or if the log starts to feel a little bit weird at one point.
That's right.
Okay,
Can we see the
gentlemen.
log, or is it actually block?
Warm up your saw.
Both.
For any of you gas heads out there that love the motor saw disciplines tomorrow, or not tomorrow, today in the Pro,
Athlete
we'll
ready.
have hot saw in the mix
Stand
as
to your
well.
timber.
So stick around for that later on
3,
in the day. Here we
2,
go.
1, go!
Heat number 4. 3. A bit of struggling there by Rolly on that first cut. Denier. Nice upcut, but it's going to be Rolly with a personal best of 11.91. 2 personal bests dropped on the day. Nice. Love to see that.
And he's got a big cookie there, and he's kind of looking in, seeing if he got that line or not.
Oh, yeah, but it looks like he's okay. They're just checking really closely. Looks like we've got thumbs up. And again, you can see those
centers
middle
there.
parts. It's
Yeah.
really weird.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Both cuts are good.
He's going to be happy with that.
All right, so very well done. Niels Rolly and Louis Guinier with a couple of personal bests. We always like to say the personal best is a nice step each time, and we could see in the slow-mo here how these cuts went down.
So he hesitated there a little bit, but you can see that he's a bit inexperienced, that he's just coming into the sport.
Wow, that is a massive second cut. Holy smokes. All right, heat number 4 coming up between Sean Usch and Loïc Voisin. Pretty closely matched up heat here. And we've had personal bests across the board today, so maybe this wood is cutting well. How was the wood for you guys yesterday?
It was amazing yesterday, except for my underhand, but the rest of the wood was really good.
I think you always underestimate your underhand, quite honestly.
I think so too. So you see there's a mat on the ground for the guys to put the saw in. It helps with the vibrations. It isn't a must. The athlete can decide itself if they want to use it or not.
Actually saw this the other day. We had an athlete kick the mat out of the way. In fact, I believe it was...
In Germany, wasn't it? Wasn't it in Germany?
It was, yeah. It was the
Stefan-
German championship.
Okay,
Stefan
good
Stark
done.
just
Yeah.
didn't use it at all
Warm up
because he's
your
old
saw.
school. That was his last competition, and yeah, it was interesting because I've seen it in the past before. The engine's running and the saw just sort of starts to skip away on them, and so these mats were instituted to keep the saw in place, and Stefan said, no, I don't need that thing. I'm going to just go old school here
Athlete
today.
ready.
Stand to your
See,
timber.
those fingers are all over
3,
the lines.
2,
It's very
1,
important.
go!
Wow, really quick start by Usch. Voisin looking good on his first cut. That's a pretty fat cookie. Hopefully his up and transition. Oh, Sean Usch makes a bit of a mistake on the transition on the upcut, and Voisin's got a nice thin cookie on the upcut. Hopefully he was inside that line. Usch looks okay. Looks pretty close for Voisin, though, to be honest with you.
Usch will not be happy with that he had to reset.
Sean Usch with a 13.77 and Loïc Voisin with an 11.52. So
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Both cuts are good.
all right, times have been made official. 11.52 for Loïc Voisin puts him in second position in stock saw for the moment, just behind Romain Berthollet. And we have one more heat to go, heat number 5 coming up. But first, we're going to check out the slow-mos from this last heat.
Unreal how quick Sean Usch was at that saw and up on the block.
See that massive cookie from Voisin, though.
And a nice change over by Voisin.
Yeah. His second cookie was so much thinner than his first cookie. But because that first cookie was so fat, I thought he was really close to the line. All right, Stocksaw heat number 5, the last one in Stocksaw before we take a look at the rankings after the event. Tim Anthofer going up against Ivan Bambushkar. Again, tail of the tape, really, really close. Both of these guys roughly the same size. Bambushkar a little bit taller. Age-wise and weight-wise, they're quite similar. It's also something I've noticed in the last few years. You're seeing a lot more guys of this stature coming into the sport. They're a lot more fit-looking, let's call it. Not to say that our bigger boys aren't fit, because we've seen some of those guys, they are cat-like in their movements, even though they might have a little bit of a belly or something. But a lot of the young guys are coming in. They're strong, they're wiry, and they have great endurance, which is something that we need on a day like today when you're cutting the whole day long.
So you can see, I don't think he marked anything on his block.
Just competed, Tim Anthofer did, just competed at the German Newcomer Championship. Got a little bit of weather today. Slightly drizzly.
Yeah, hoping that it clears up here soon.
Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Ooh, nice even start by both of these guys. There's the first cut from Bambushkar there. Getting close to the edge on the bottom as he transitions to the upcut really nicely. Anthofer struggling with a massive cookie. We saw the same problem with him at the Newcomer Championship in Germany, and he might be really close to the line, if not over it. Hopefully he doesn't have a DQ there. Those are the funniest cookies I've ever seen. I've never seen that before. We got to get ourselves one of those. Yeah, definitely. I want a mini one.
It's a donut.
Yeah. I'll take the Timbit instead. We'll have to make a new stencil for spraying the STIHL logo on it.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, stand 1, DQ, cut the line. Stand 2, okay.
So Ivan Bambushkar with a 12:07, currently sitting in 4th place in the stock, saw a DQ for Tim Anthofer. And this is an area where he definitely needs to work on, because we saw that as well at the German Championships with him. Let's take a look here at what happened. He had a really, he struggled on that cut a little bit. Almost looks like he was sawing the saw back and forth.
Yes, that does not help. There's quite a few athletes that do that.
There's that upcut from Bambushkar. Really nice finish by him.
You can see how he had to fight for it to get it in, but at the bottom he must have just nicked that line.
Yeah, just cut over the line. And you could also see the tip of the bar wasn't really out of the block. He was depending on just the front edge of that chain to be making that final end cut.
That's right.
So that's where we stand. I'll just give you a quick update before we get... Oh, we do have graphics. So there we go. Berthollet with the top time and the time of 11:47. Loic Voinsant sitting in 2nd place. Niels Rolli in 3rd place. Ivan Bambushkar in 4th. And you can see the rest down the line. Because this is the first discipline of the day, this is how the overall standings will also look. We could see Tim Anthofer and Gygax with a couple of DQs, one a false start and one cut over the line. We don't like to see that, of course, because we don't like to see the guys DQ'd. And obviously, they're going to hate that situation as well. But that's the way it goes. This is the original extreme sport. This is where it really started, or not here, but back in the day, what extreme sports was all about. And it all started with a $50 bet. Let's take a look back at a bit of the history of timber sports.
Expert woodsman who can cut down a tree more easily than most people can chop one up. When it really comes to tackling large lumps, you can't beat the men of the forestry companies.
An axeman's gathering.
This is Thomas losing the ball that gets it.
Ah, the original extreme sport. I'm sure there are other sports out there would argue that a little bit, but you can't deny the classic pictures in the wife beater tank tops and smoking while they're cutting a tree down. I don't think that would go down too well in today's day and age, but
No.
nevertheless, it is cool, and you gotta check these events out live. The vibe is incredible. So we've got our first discipline out of the way with the stock saw, and now we are going to our next discipline, the standing block chop. Let's take a look at the tool and discipline for what's coming up.
The axes used in timber sports definitely can't be bought at your local hardware store. Made from special steel, the blade is hand sanded with an angle of 13 to 16 degrees. It's custom built and carefully adjusted for each competition. The weight is around 3 kilos and it's about 80 centimeters long. The blade is so sharp that you could shave with it. Standing block chop. At the standing block chop, the felling of a tree with an axe is simulated. A vertically positioned wooden block with a diameter of 27 centimeters has to be cut through from both sides. A powerful and precise swing with the axe is the premise of a good result.
All right, there's our standing block chop start list. As the second discipline gets underway, the guys really need to focus on making sure they're cutting clean, cutting accurate, and getting through those blocks from both sides, as you saw from the discipline description. What's key for these guys here to get a fast cut?
It's just having control over that axe and making sure that those hits are going where you want them, so you don't have a staircase in your block, and to get through it as quick as possible.
Now, when we were in France, you mentioned a lot of the guys, you see them going straight in on their under or their lower cut when they should be coming down from the floor and really driving up into that block at an angle. Why is that?
That's right. It's that angle that is so crucial to make sure that the axe really does cut as much as possible.
So when you're going straight in, you're not getting chips or blocks coming out of, or slabs coming out of that block. You're not cutting, actually. You're just more
tapping it a
making
bit.
marks and tapping it. Okay, and that happens. We'll also see when these guys get a bit tired, their angle starts to reduce a bit, huh? Okay, so our first guys are on stage. Dominik Gygax going up against Benjamin Stegnitz, and this is also a discipline where they won't let you compete unless you can show you have control over that axe.
Okay. Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
A little bit of a hop by Stegnitz there. I don't know if that was just a piece of the bark that came off of that block or what happened, but that looked weird. You can see the first few drivers going in by both of these guys. Some nice chips coming off for Stegnitz there, but that's that staircase that you were talking about, and that comes with experience and getting the accuracy up, right?
That's right. Accuracy is so key in this event.
Stegnitz first to move over to the other side of his block. Gygax is still working on the first side of his block, and Stegnitz with a definite advantage here as he's moved over to the other side as these guys get close to the 40-second mark in standing block chop. Gygax maybe thinking a bit more in theory, getting deeper on the first side and not having to do as much work on the backside, may have a good time. Stegnitz getting pretty close to cutting through the backside of his block. Three more drivers should do it for him. And there we go. Stegnitz with a time of 54.05 and a personal best for him. Gygax, his tactic maybe wasn't exactly right. He's not really taking that saw far back out. He's gripping it at the head of the saw, but he's using a lot of his arms and shoulders for the hits, isn't he?
That's right. You got to use your whole body. I don't think he was expecting that.
No, I don't think so either. I've never seen an upcut go through the block and have it pop off the top like that. That was a good one, though. I like it. All right, so Stegnitz's time is locked in with a personal best adjusted 55.25.
Both cuts are good.
Both cuts are good, and a 1:13.76 for Gygax. He's going to lock that in as a personal best as well, being a first competition for him. So that's a point where he can work from.
That's right, and that's a good time for first competition.
There's that skip that I saw. So I wasn't seeing things. And there's the angle. We can see from this. It's not so easy to see the angle, but from Gygax's axe, he's cutting in quite straight. And there for Stegnitz as well, his angle on the lower cuts is really flat.
That's right, and that is something also that you kind of got to train in a dry run to get that movement, so that when you're actually at the block training it, then you can get it right.
Here's that moment where you kind of go, ugh, there's a thread holding the block on the top. That extra driver is maybe a half second, and that sometimes can be the difference between winning and losing in a heat and moving on to the next round.
That's right, you can see, oh, there's that pop.
Completely unexpected. So, such a cool look, though. Okay, our next heat coming up, Louis Guinier. I'm just going to butcher that name all day long unless somebody comes and helps me with a correction, going up against Romain Bartolet. And there you can see the rookie world record, 11:02. So that's something that these guys are going to definitely keep in mind. These axes are so expensive as well, and one of the reasons they also want to have a real proper control of this axe is if you hit one of those stanchion locks with that axe, it's completely ruined.
Yeah, it becomes a beater axe, meaning you use it to peel your logs in training.
Okay. Athletes ready.
Stand to your
How many
timber.
axes do you have again?
3, 2, 1,
Never
I'm
go!
going to tell you that.
All right, so heat is on for both of these guys. There we see Guinier close up on the screen, Bartolet on the other side. Some nice chips coming off for Bartolet there on the far side. Guinier starting to get some nice chips in as well. That downward driver is always easier, I'm guessing, to get the nice angle on it. It's that up driver that's really problematic. But Guinier seems to be doing, or Bartolet, excuse me, seems to be doing okay as he now moves over to the other side of his block. And you can see, again, talking about the stature of these guys, both of these guys tall, thin, lanky, but strong. Guinier casually walks around his block to the other side. Oh, a little bit of wrenching there to get that piece out. That's okay as long as you don't wrench the top of the block off to finish your hit, though.
That's right. So now he can pretty much just drive there.
Bartolet coming close. He really wants it now. He's putting everything he's got into those last few drivers. Great job by Bartolet as he gets himself a time of 57.47, and Guinier with a personal best of 59.69. So great job by both of these guys. And at the moment, Benjamin Stegnitz with a 55.25, leading in the standing block chop results.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, both cuts are good.
So there we have a couple of personal bests, and so far all the athletes have had personal bests in our system and in the standing block chop. So let's take a look at the rankings so far with 2 heats done. Excuse me, we'll get the slow-mos out of the way first. A bit of a stick there.
Yeah, he had a little bit of trouble there with the first couple of hits, but then afterwards he kind of picked up the pace and pulled through. So you can see the staircase again there. That will come with time. It'll be smooth as a baby's bottom when they get a little bit of training time in.
I think if it were me cutting that, the staircase would be enough to cause a bit of concern. Nice final driver there from Bertoletto, Romain Bertolet, with a really nice way to end that heat. And with that, he moves into the top of the overall standings. But we still do have 3 more heats to go in the standing block chop here. Let's take a look at where we are in the standings for the standing block chop, and then hopefully we'll get a graphic for the overall as well. Before that, though, we're going to take a look at where this wood that these athletes are chopping comes from in our premium wood clip.
STIHL Timbersports is an international extreme sports competition series featuring 6 disciplines: 3 chopping and 3 sawing. We have a premier competition We need premier wood. The biggest challenges that I face as part of my role is to ensure that our competitions are supplied with the highest quality wood.
Each individual tree is examined for its conformation before processing. We need to make it fair for all athletes. So we are selecting different sections of the trees to use for each of our specific disciplines.
Once the trees are felled, extracted and transported to our facilities, we measure, mark and then cut the wood into sized blocks. We then peel the blocks ready for competition. After careful selection, the blocks then leave our yard and are distributed internationally to our STIHL TIMBERSPORTS competitions.
So there you see where the wood comes from. It's all specifically designed and grown and made exactly for these competitions so that each athlete that's on stage has fair wood. You've experienced this as well. You know the wood is good. So there's a lot to be said for how it's prepared for you guys, correct?
That's right. So once it's here at the competitions, the wood gets matched. That means there's two athletes that help the guys here say, yep, these two blocks are similar. Then they go into the competition, and then us athletes draw a number out of a hat. So it's fair. So nobody knows who gets what block.
So you can't just walk over and take that wood there, and then that's your piece of block. I mean, it's lottery system.
That's right.
All right, cool. Let's move on, and we'll get into our next heat coming up in the standing block chop as our stage is ready and the stands are ready to go. All right, STIHL Piguet. Correct? Piguet. This little Piguet is going to compete in standing block chop right now against Tim Anthofer. Tim, tail of the tape, says his personal best is slightly better than Piguet. Let's see how these two match up on stage. But of course, it's all coming down to the times that they cut here today and about getting as many points through fast times as possible.
And we've seen so far the wood looks really good. So we'll see what they can do today.
Can you foresee a world record with the wood here today, or perhaps a national record in one of these disciplines?
I definitely think a national record would be possible. World record is luck of the draw. It's the form of the day of the athlete and the wood. It all has to work out perfectly.
Okay. Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
So Piguet on the left-hand side of your screen in the red, Tim Anthofer on the right hand with the black. Both of them getting in there right away. Both of them looking good, pretty frequent drivers. Tim Anthofer, he's got some nice drivers from down low, actually. Not the typical rookie style, although those last couple ones were pretty flat. I kind of put my foot in my mouth there. But to start things off, he looked really good. Both of them on the second side of their block. Anthofer looking like he might be pretty close to getting through there. He's got some big power drivers, and that top is wiggling just a little bit. Piguet still trying to get through his, but it's going to be Anthofer's if he can get it done, and he does it in a personal best, 36:41. Well done by Tim Anthofer. Did a great time there, the fastest time so far in standing block chop, the time to beat. And STIHL Piguet with the second fastest time with a 44:29. No personal best for him, but we saw 5 personal bests in stock saw, and we've got 4 personal bests so far in standing block chop today for our athletes. So great job.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, both good to good.
So everything is fair. Times are official, 4:04:06 for Piguet, and Anthofer with a 3:06:21 and a personal best, and he takes over the top spot in the standing block chop results as we take a look back at his slow-mos here. Now, don't make me wrong on that undercut there. Now, those first ones look good.
He's got a good angle there. And also that upcut, or the down cut was good for him. But here now he's quite flat. He's doing the last 2 hits before he switches to make sure that it's through far enough. But they were fairly flat. They should have been a little bit more. And then he probably wouldn't have had the issue here of trying to knock it off.
Yeah, and he saw that thing wiggling a little bit, thought that last one before the last, the second to last one was the one that was going to do it, and he stepped forward and was like, okay, I'm done. Ah, no, I'm not. All right, next heat, heat number 4 with Niels Rulli going up against Sean Usch. Significantly better times here on a personal best level by Sean Usch. If he can really hold on to that speed, he may well have a personal best here today. Again, let's see, with the wood the way it's been cutting. Standing block chop. 11.90 for the rookies is the world record at the moment, held by Simon Grunwald from Poland.
Everything has to be perfect to get that.
Yeah. The gods of the wood have to all align and say, yeah, we'll let him have it
yes,
today.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Athletes ready.
Stand
on the
to
right
your
hand side of
timber.
your stage. Niels Rulli
3,
on the left hand
2,
side of your
1,
stage.
go!
Niels Rulli, pretty frequent drivers there as he's getting in really quick. Little bounce. That
Yeah, you
block
can see
didn't
a little
wanna-
bit of a knot in there.
I didn't see that, but Sean Usch moving over to the other side of his block now as he is really going for it. He seemed to be picking up the pace as well, as he probably saw or felt Niels Rulli really hammering away at that block well. No personal best going to be happening here for Sean Usch. 26:27 is the fastest time of the day so far. Niels Rulli, he's bouncing that axe quite a bit. Those are those flat drivers that we were talking about. And he just can't seem to get that block off the top. And he sees it wiggling, but he's finally through in a 41-17, struggling on those last few drivers. What happened there? We'll take a look back at the slow-mo.
Yeah, I definitely have to take a closer look. I don't think both of them are that happy with their cuts, but
definitely not Sean Usch, as he's not even anywhere close to his personal best time of 18 and change. But he's got the fastest time of the day so far. Niels Rulli, believe it or not, with a 40.94, sits in 3rd place in the standing block chop and is in number 1 spot in the overall. It's not a bad look at the accuracy. You can see pretty close on each of those 2 drivers that we saw there.
It's the nerves that get you once you're in competition. Training, you kind of have a little bit more time, but
all right, so our next heat coming up, heat number 5 with Ivan let me see if I can say that one more time fast. Ivan Bambushkar going up against Loic Voisin. Ivan with a really nice, solid personal best time of 18:68. And just really quickly back in here to the studio, we got to do some small changes up on stage to make sure the blocks are ready for our next heat. A lot of people ask us, hey, what are you doing with all that wood? You're cutting a ton of wood. There's a lot of waste up there. But the people out there don't see what actually happens to get that wood here and what happens with it after the fact. Let's take a look at how it's used right now.
We as STIHL Timbersports pride ourselves that all wood is sustainably grown, harvested and recycled to minimise the overall amount of wood processed. Firstly, this popular wood is grown on certified plantations. Secondly, the white pine for our sawing disciplines is only sourced from certified forest management. After all our STIHL competitions, all the spent wood is collected and recycled right down to the wood chips and sawdust, which, for example, is converted into renewable energy in the form of wood pellets for biomass. We quest to find certified partners. This ensures that all newly planted trees are nurtured and managed, promoting maximum efficiency and sustainability for the future conservation of our valuable forests.
Therefore, as you can see, with good harvesting practices and good management with silviculture, the ground is quickly replaced by new trees, or could even be used for arable for farmers and future rotations.
All right, our next heat on stage, ready to go as their blocks have been reset. Ivan Bambushkar up against Loic Vincent, a couple of guys that are very, very adept at this discipline. Should be a good heat between these two guys. They'll be pushing each other, but as always, reminding you that it's about the fastest time to gain the most points. Loic,
Okay.
always concentrated and very
Athletes ready.
Very, very.
Stand
Yes.
to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Ivan Bambushkar, pretty frequent drivers there. Loic Vincent, wow, he's quick to the
Look
other
at that
side today.
change.
Wow.
Wow. Let's see if it works out for him.
He didn't go very deep on that first side, but he seems pretty confident. Ivan Bambushkar looking good as he's got a bit of a wiggly block there, but it could be a problem if that comes off. Now that's going to make it a little bit easier for him, but Loic Vincent with a 20.29 and Ivan Bambushkar with a 24.05. Wow, what a great set of drivers for those guys as they both move to the 1 and 2 positions. Loic Vincent with the fastest time of 20.29 in standing block chop. Ivan with a 24.05. He was quick to the other side, Loic.
He was, and it looked like he wanted to drive it off, but we'll take a look afterwards in the slow-mo if we can see what the issue was.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, both girls are good.
All right, official times have been adjusted. 26.26 for Ivan, and Loic drops down to 20.00. That puts him in the top spot in the overall rankings. Let's take a look at the slow-mo here.
So you can see he does quick few hits here on that side, and then he switches over.
I think that was maybe 6 drivers on that first side.
Yeah,
6 or
so
7.
then there he's now, you can see he's starting to try and drive it off, but he's just got too much wood left. So he has to do some bottom-up hits, and then finally he can drive it off.
He had a really steep angle on that one side, though. Is that the kind of the concept? Get a super steep angle on that top side and then try and cut through from the back side?
That's right.
It was a bit of a lucky break right there with that big slab coming off for Bambushkar as well. Not as much material to break away.
Indeed, yeah.
So here we have the discipline ranking with Vincent, Bambushkar, and Ush in 1, 2, and 3 positions. We have also 5 personal bests with Anthofer, Stegnitz, Bertolet, Guinier, and Gygax. Although the last 4 guys in the list there, their personal bests were because they're new to the sport. And let's take a look at the overall standings and how that adjusts things around a little bit after 2 disciplines today so far. And there you see Vincent and Bambushkar in positions 1 and 2. Niels Rölli had the lead for a short time there, but now has been pushed down to 3rd place with Bertolet, in 4th place. And that is our first 2 disciplines done and dusted for the day as we get a nice breeze coming in to cool us down in the studio. I know that's not your thing, Yolanda, but I'm totally into the cool air. I got the padding for it, so I'm okay. So as we're in the rookie competition here, these are the guys that are new to the sport. These are the guys that are just jumping in, and these are the guys that are going to be the future of the sport. They have the opportunity to compete and train at the Rookie Academy. We're going to take a quick look at that, give you a bit of a better idea of what's in it for these guys down the road.
Wir sind hier für die Rookie Academy, um uns auf die Saison vorzubereiten mit den besten Rookies aus Europa und internationalen Trainern, um unsere Fähigkeiten zu verbessern und fit zu werden für die Saison.
Getting together with all the other European athletes and getting better together. For me, it's a great training camp.
For me, the Rookie Academy is very important because we can confront each other.
I'm totally delighted with the progress. The level is just climbing and climbing and climbing. What's remarkable is the dedication that these young guys have put in to the training programs, and that's what the Rookie Academy is about. It's about bringing those young fellas forward. A lot of the older pro competitors really need to be up in their game now, because these guys have got everything on their side. Youth, speed, power, and they've grown into young professionals.
So the future seems pretty stable for STIHL Timbersports with a group like that.
He sure
performing
does.
that well. I mean, you've seen some of these guys in action in the past as well as here today. What are your thoughts?
It's amazing what that training camp does for these young gentlemen, and you'll see it on the stage here tomorrow with some of these guys.
Yeah, we've got the Nations Cup coming up tomorrow, so we're going to have a ton of action for you as well. The whole weekend is full. Let's now move on to our next discipline, the single buck. The 2-meter-long cross-cut saw used for the single buck discipline is made especially for competition. A series of consistently patterned 10-centimeter-long teeth are cut with a laser on one side of the saw and then hand-sharpened. Saw teeth are divided into two types, cutters and rakers, just like on the old-school saws. The saw weighs about 5 kilos and its base price starts at around 1,500 euros. Single buck. The single buck is a one-man saw about 2 meters long. With this, the athletes have to cut off a complete disc from a 40-centimeter thick wooden block. The perfect interplay between rhythm and strength is the key to success.
And they will.
So let's check out our start list for the single buck. This is also with assistant, so there are several different world records that are out there, as you can see. And this record that you see down there is with assistant, so that means there'll be somebody up there setting a wedge to prevent that cookie that they're cutting from binding on the saw, correct?
That's right, gives it a little bit more room.
All right, so Guinier will be going up against Bertollet in the first heat, then Gygax against Stegnitz, and this is an opportunity now where the guys really in the third discipline of 4 have to start setting their marks on being among the top guys if they want to be on the podium and really gain some points in the European standing for rookies as well. So there you see our first 2 gentlemen from Switzerland getting ready to go up on stage. Louis Guinier going up against Romain Bertollet. And you can see those long 2-meter-long cross-cut saws, those massively aggressive teeth. And that little piece of metal that you see Bart Janssen has in his hand, that is a guide so that they set the saw into the block just a little bit. Instead of starting, fresh off the top of the block, it gives it a bit of stability for that first starting cut, right?
That's right. It makes life a lot easier if you have something that the saw is already in, a line that you can just, and then 2 short strides and
you're
full
into
power.
Athlete ready.
Christoph Geisler
Stand to
helping
your
Romain
timber.
Bertollet as
3,
get ready to
2,
go. Here we go.
1, go!
Bertollet, a little bit of a hookup on his push through. Guinier with a nice start. He hooks up a little bit too. Just a small angle change can change how that saw stops or moves through the block. It's amazing.
It only needs a millimeter.
Yeah, and those super aggressive teeth are, if you can cut nice and clean, long strokes, you get an efficient cut. And Bertollet looks good as he's coming towards the bottom. And the hardest part of these cuts to keep that saw moving and just get it through. But he's got himself a personal best 28.92. So that's a definite improvement from his 29.22 previous. And a 34.57 for Guinier. That's also an improvement for him from his 37.71. So we got good wood today in general for these guys.
Definitely do.
And of course, good athletes. Let's not put these guys behind the axe too much, huh?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, both girls are good.
So I was a little bit concerned for Guinier there because he had a little tooth at the bottom or a little tab at the bottom he had to go back and cut off, but the cut was deemed fair, so those times are now considered to be official. Let's look back here.
So we'll see here in the slow-mo. Their start is a little bit choppy. With a little more practice, that'll be a little smoother. You want to really do 2 short strides or 1 short stride and then get into the flow.
Choppy, no pun intended. Oh!
You can see there with the wedge, he's just opening up that cut just a little bit to give that saw a little bit more room.
There is the risk, though, that if you start off with a very thin cookie and you use the wedge and the saw all together can cut off a little tab at the bottom, you can see right there.
That's right, that's what happened there.
Barely saw it, but he did have to go back, reset, and do it again. And now we have Dominik Gygax going up against Benjamin Stegnitz in heat number 2. Gygax without a personal best locked and loaded yet, so I'd be curious to know how he does today. And no matter what time he gets, as long as it's not a DQ for being over the time, he will have a personal best. I think cutting a 40-centimeter block for me would be about an 18-minute affair. I think it was a 36-centimeter block, and yeah, I was dead meat afterwards, so I can't even imagine having to do this numerous times a day. It's unbelievable.
So they say if you're good at it, you should be technically able to pull that saw with 1 hand.
This is what I've heard.
It's possible.
I had Andreas Auenhammer giving me a bit of guidelines there and help at the German championships when we were checking these out. I was just drawing the saw back and forth, not to show off or anything like that, but you know.
So you can see the ref there, the judges checking, make sure that he didn't cut in too far.
Yeah, they have double indemnity here, right? They have those lines marked on the block as well as that metal guide to make sure that both saws are set the same depth.
Yeah, because the lines doesn't mean that the athlete's not going to saw at a different angle, so
right.
It's a little bit more difficult to pre-mark. So they just screwed on some blocks for Benjamin so that he's got a better stand.
Athlete ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Benjamin getting a good flow right away. Gygax struggling on those first couple of strokes, and Stegnitz seems to be in good stead there. And those blocks that you mentioned that they screwed into the boards of the floor in order to give him a foothold, because a lot of guys actually are using spiked shoes in order to have a good grip on the floor for these pushes and pulls back and forth. Stegnitz getting close to the 30-second mark. He's almost at the bottom of his cut here. Oh, and he's really struggling to find that last hit, and he's got a 32.82. Gygax with a 33.79. That is a great personal best for a first competition in the intermediate level.
Good.
So that's a super job by him. Very well done. Little surprise hello from us there on screen. Huh?
So you can see he put his slippers on there now to kind of protect those spikes that he's got on.
Yep.
Both guys are good.
Now, these aren't necessarily specially designed shoes for timber sports. They're more like a shot put or
or track shoes.
A track shoe,
for running.
Right?
That's right. Depends on your preference if you only want the spikes in the front or through the entire shoe.
All right, let's pick this apart a little bit here.
So you can see the athletes are sawing with 2 different angles. So that's really up to the athlete what they prefer. For starting out, obviously flat is a little bit better just because of the weight of the saw. Once you've got to push through all the way, that it doesn't tip and catch afterwards when you try and pull back.
And those small angle changes that we just saw there from Stegnitz is what was really causing problems. You can see at the end, he just like giving a breath to the heavens. Thank you, that is over.
You can see there it breaking off. So they say if you can push down on it, then it's fine. But if it's solid, then you need to take the saw up and cut again.
All right, our next single block heat coming up with Cyril Piguet against Ivan Bambushkar. And I didn't trip over my tongue that time, so I'm proud of myself.
Good job, good job. That's why I let you do the names.
That's so nice of you. Thank you very much. So Cyril Piguet, Ivan Bambushkar coming up next. Both of them pretty solid personal best times, quite honestly. I mean, 19.91 and a 14.34. So these are a couple of guys that obviously have been practicing this particular discipline and do quite well at it. If you've got the knack, you've got the knack.
That's right, and that with the practice is always a big issue. Do you have a training saw at home? Do you only have a competition saw? It makes life a little difficult when you only have one saw.
Our TV went black for a moment, but it's back now. Thank you. So the last little minute adjustments there for Ivan Bambushkar. And again, you can see the two different angles that you were mentioning earlier. Wow, really wide stance by Bambushkar.
Okay.
But he doesn't have spiked shoes, obviously, because his back foot is slipping.
Stand
That's right, that
to
makes it a
your
little
timber.
difficult.
3,
Even with,
2, 1, go!
With the boards in, it helps a bit, but you slip out of them. So spikes are really the way to go.
So interesting, Piguet started with a flat saw position and went to the angle as he got into the cut. Bambushkar started with the angle and actually switched to a more flat cut, but he's been struggling a little bit here to get that thing finished, but came back strong with an 18.94 and Piguet with a 20.79. Nice finish for both of those guys. Probably could have been about a second faster on both sides without that struggle in the middle there. And we'll get a better idea of that on the slow-mo. And Bambushkar right now talking about the wood a little bit with our judges.
You see the helper there closing up the boxes and taking the saws off stage.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, both go good.
And just, I mean, it's a sprint. You know, you're cutting in a sprint fashion. These guys are breathing heavy after that. I remember cutting the block myself, and I was like, can this be over yet? All right, let's take a look back here.
So yeah, that angle, that changes while you're sawing depending on what body parts are you using. Are you only using your upper body? Are you taking your legs as well and using them? Some of the best sawyers say if you have pains in your legs after you're done sawing, then you've done it right.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the more of your body that you can use to make those cuts, the better it's going to be, the faster it's going to be. And also, you know, want to have those nice, long, efficient strokes as well. Okay, single buck heat number 4, and we are ripping through this competition. This one is Tim Anthofer going up against Niels Rölli. Ivan Bambushkar, by the way, with an 18.74 adjusted time in the top of the ranking in single buck, with Cyril Piguet right behind him with a 25.6. Romain Bertollet, 28.61. His personal best has him in third place for the moment. So, and there we see one of our formerly rookie athletes, now a pro on stage, he'll be competing tomorrow.
He'll be competing this afternoon also by the pros.
Correct.
Yes.
That's right. I keep forgetting we have the pro competition this afternoon. Geez, we got a lot of stuff going on today, folks.
Do.
This weekend is full of timber sports action. Today, the rookies and the pros, and then tomorrow we've got the Nations Cup. Looking forward to that one. That should be good. We're going to have a bunch of the European nations competing here with the rookies and the pros, both vying for points overall for national pride. There we see Niels setting his saw. He is good to go. He doesn't have a helper.
Okay.
Isn't somebody going to be helping him? Ollie Reinhardt is over there with Tim Anthofer.
I guess not.
Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Niels Rolle obviously feeling very confident with this discipline. And wow, look at him go. He started off beautifully with no helper out there. He is looking solid in this battle against Tim Anthofer. Tim Anthofer going for some quick long strokes though. But you can see it's tip to knuckles for Niels Rolle, a little stick right there as he's coming towards the bottom of his block, doing it all by himself on stage with a great time of 21:19.
Wow.
Tim Anthofer with Ollie Reinhardt there helping him in a 22:19. That is a good job by Niels Rolle. That is the option of the athlete to say, no, I don't need a helper, but it's a strange decision in this case.
Indeed, because we do see with the times with helper and without, there's a little bit of a time difference. But he was good to go.
He was good to go with a 29.6. That puts him in third place at the moment in the single buck, with Tim Anthofer just behind him in fourth with a 22.70.
Good.
And that is official. Both cuts are good there. So Ivan Bambushkar at the moment with the time to beat with one more heat to go, and 18.74 is that time. As we take a look back here at the start. Wow, he was quick to get started, and he just went for it with full long strides.
That's right. He really uses that whole saw, and he's got a little bit of a hiccup there, but he able to correct it and keep going.
When the saw kind of bowed like that, that's one of the reasons why they call it the misery whip, right?
That's right.
My favorite name for this saw. Yeah, it was a good final stride or stroke for him, and a great job by Niels to get that 29.6 without a helper. I don't even think that Tim needed the helper. I mean, he was just out there kind of holding the wedge above the log, really didn't do much at all. All right, so look at those personal best times right there between Sean Oesch and Loic Voisin, 12:58 to 12:52. Doesn't get much closer on the tail of the tape between these two guys. Will one of them take over the top spot in the single buck, and with that the overall rankings? At the moment, Ivan Bambushkar with 23 points in the lead overall. Niels Rolle just behind him with 19. But because we have one more heat to go, those will change in the overall. And we'll get these saws set for our last heat in single buck. Guys have been cutting really, really well today. World record for single buck with assistance.
Stand to your timber.
9.6 seconds for the rookies.
3, 2, 1, go!
Loic Voisin getting started right away with some long strokes, but gets hooked up and bowed that saw big time and stopped it. Restarting that thing is a beast. It's a monster. Sean Oesch, wow, look at this. He's motorized that thing. Oh, but he gets it caught up too. I've stepped on both of these guys' feet, but it's Loic Voisin with a 17.27 and Sean Oesch with a 17.69. Again, both of them so close to each other. Unbelievable.
Unreal, and they both had a little bit of hiccups, and I don't know if they're going to be too happy with that time, but...
Yeah, I mean, 12:58 to 12:52, their original personal bests, they didn't even close to those, but with some adjustments, Loic Voisin with a 16.89, just ahead of Sean Oesch with a 17.52.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, both good, good.
And we'll see those adjustments on the screen there right now, and you can see that orange field with the first and third there by both of these guys. That gives them their that positioning in the overall standings, as well as the orange field with the black number is their ranking in the discipline as we look at the slow-mo here.
And you can see how Sean, he just, machine just goes so quick.
He's got a really steep angle as well, and I notice on that steep angle, he's not using his legs as much, he's using a lot of his upper body.
That's right, but he's a tall guy, big guy, so he can pull that off. Somebody like me, little, not so much.
Good heat there. Both of those guys really cutting well. So let's take a look. Single buck ranking, Voisin, Oesch 1 and 2 with those great times under 20 seconds. Bambushkar right there with them, only 1.85 seconds off that pace of 16.89. Then we see Piguet, Rulli, Anthofer, Berthollet, Stegnitz, Guinea, and Gygax bringing up the remaining 7 spots. And let's take a look how that affects the overall ranking here as well. So Loïc Voisin stays in the top spot with 26 points. Bambushkar has 21 points in second place, and Sean Oesch moves into third, pushing Niels Rulli down into fourth with 18 and 17 points respectively. So we have our overall standings there with 1 more discipline still to come, and that is the underhand chop, and that's where they're standing on top of the block and cutting down through the block. We'll talk a little bit about that first, but we had the Rookie World Championships earlier on in the season in Vienna, where some of these guys that are competing here today competed against the international rookies. Let's take a quick look back at that and the action that we saw there.
Welcome to the STIHL TIMBERSPORTS Rookie International World Championship. Right away, he gets in there with 2 nice big accurate strikes on that one side. That was a blistering set of heats from these 2 guys. Unbelievable. We're going to go to the next badass discipline. That is the stop sword. The side of his block. 4 strokes. Holy moly! Simon Grunwald has broken the world record here in Austria. Fantastic stuff. Wow.
Also Timbersport ist einfach ein super geiler Sport, den ich sehr, sehr gerne mache.
So you saw Olli Reinhardt from Switzerland competing at that Rookie World Championship early in the year. He is now competing with the pros, and he is really putting the pressure on those guys, isn't he?
He sure is. He's going to give them a run for their money.
Yeah, he's an excellent, excellent athlete. We saw him compete also in the World Trophy there. Unfortunately, he injured his hand in the qualification round and couldn't continue on to the next round, where he would have competed against some of the absolute masters of the sport, but that's another story for another day. In the meantime, let's move on to our tool and discipline for the underhand chop.
The axes used in timber sports definitely can't be bought at your local hardware store. Made from special steel, the blade is hand sanded with an angle of 13 to 16 degrees. It's custom built and carefully adjusted for each competition. The weight is around 3 kilos and it's about 80 centimeters long. The blade is so sharp that you could shave with it. Underhand chop. In the past, the underhand chop technique was used to split logs. Standing on a horizontally anchored block, the athletes use an axe to cut through a 30-centimeter log. The block has to be worked from both sides.
Okay, so this is it, the last discipline of the day, the underhand chop. This is for all the marbles. There is a possibility for a couple of these guys to move into that top position, but at the moment, Loïc Vincent is in lead with 26 points, Ivan Bambushkar with 21, Sean Oesch with 18, Niels Rulli with 17, Romain Berthollet with 14. This is the overall standings that I'm reading to you right now as we get ready for our first heat in underhand chop, and Dominic Gygax going to also log in. Hopefully a personal best time here today, going up against Benjamin Stegnitz with a 57-second clean personal best cut on the underhand. Now we'll also notice that these guys are wearing really soft running shoes. Underneath them, they're wearing a chainmail sock that's required in order to protect their feet and legs in case something happens with the axe, right?
That's right. Ready. This way, you're going home with all your toes.
Maybe a broken toe, but all your toes are still there. Here we go. Nice start by both of these guys. Stegnitz looking very good. Looks like he's got a practiced hand in this. He's got a bit more experience than Gygax does. There's Gygax's shoes, as you see, the soft shoes, keeping a little bit better grip on the top of those footholds on the block. Weiach, you can see he's got really nice clean cuts as he switches over to the other side of his block first. Now, this is also the discipline where most chopping is learned before you can step up to the standing block chop, correct?
That's right. This is an event that you actually start out with when you try this sport.
So Weiach's now moving over to the other side of his block, gingerly holding that axe above his head before he makes that first driver. You can see some nice chips coming out of Stegnit's blocks. He should be through any second now. Oh, he steps down, but one more driver should do it, and he splits through. Whoa, and he fell forward. He's got himself a personal best 54.70. Good that he controlled that axe, though, and he didn't let go of it and have it falling into the audience. And Weiach's with a 103.69. That's a very nice starting result for him, and a personal best logged and loaded for him as well. So now the judges will check to make sure that those footholds weren't cut into, which is a mistake that a lot of rookies make.
That's right, being nervous and not aiming at the same spot. Hitting that foothold is not good.
Yeah, it's also a safety issue as well. They want to make sure that the foothold isn't hit because your feet are obviously in that position. But both these guys have good cuts and the times are locked and official. And both of them are walking away with personal bests here today. So great job for our first heat in underhand chop as we take a look back.
So what's good is you can see by Weiach, he's actually standing on his log using the full feet are on there, not just his tippy toes. So it means he's got a lot more balance when he's coming in and hitting that log.
A little more power can come out of that as well.
That's right.
We do see guys that tend to be a little bit more tippy-toed,
So you
but
can see Benjamin right there, he's more on the balls, almost tippy toes. His balance isn't that great, so don't.
It cost him, he had to step down.
That's right, and there you see how he's slipping off. I don't know if he was ready for that last hit. Usually you kind of change your weight over to the side that is actually still attached to the stand.
Yeah, it didn't happen for him that time, but
Nope.
like I said, good that he had that in control when he went down.
That's right.
I mean, we've seen it happen on a couple of different disciplines, the chopping disciplines, where the guys have slipped on a piece of wood on the ground and fallen with the axe in hand, so you always have to keep that in control. An interesting question is, if he had let that axe go, would that have counted as a disqualification for losing control of the tool?
I don't think so. It depends on when you let go.
I have to break out my rule book and check that out, I think.
I think we do need to do
All right,
that.
here we go. Next heat, Louis Guinier against Romain Berthollet. Romain kind of going, hey, what's going on? Let's go.
Okay.
They're ready.
Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
In sync with each other on those first drivers, both of them hitting right at the same time. I think we are looking at Berthollet there. I'm not quite sure. No, that is Guinier. There's Berthollet on the other side of the stage here on number 9 on his leg. Oh, a huge stick by Guinier with a big driver as Berthollet has now moved over to the other side of his block, nearing the 32nd point. Guinier gingerly stepping around on his block. Some nice clean cuts, though, by Berthollet on the left-hand side of your screen there as we get a little bit closer, and that's that baby's bottom side that you were talking a little bit about, Yolanda.
That's right.
On the second side for Berthollet, though, different story. That staircase is there, so it's the first side that looks a lot better as he's starting to come through. And it is Guinier with a 52.39 personal best. Berthollet struggling on his second side now, trying to find a way through that block. Finally does it in a 101.60, gets a personal best as well. So always like to see those improvements for these athletes as they step up in their game and improve each time they come out on stage. Bart Janssen just waiting for Berthollet to join him over stage center so he can make the official call here. But by the way it looks here from our screen, Guinier with a 52.15, the time to beat.
Both guys are good.
And Berthollet with a personal best 101.33. Benjamin Stegnitz right in the middle there with a 54.39.
see here, some good hard hits from these young guys. Here you have gravity helping you out a little bit. It does use a lot of strength, but like I said, that gravity is a good thing.
Gravity is my friend as well. Not in all cases, but in most, yeah? But that gravity can also be detrimental if you get a really heavy blow. It drives into the block and sticks. We've seen that a couple of times, and yanking that axe out is really difficult.
That's right. So when these guys are prepping their wood before the competition, they do test their axes a little bit to see which one sticks, or if they have one that's great.
All right, so first couple of heats done and dusted for our underhand chop, as we'll take a quick look at the rankings thus far. And there you see the mini rankings on the right-hand side of your screen there. Loïc Boisson at the top with Bertollet in second place. These are the overall rankings, by the way. Ivan Bambushkar in third place and Sean Oesch sitting in fourth place. So it's an opportunity for the guys in the top 3-4 spots there in this underhand chop to try and increase their points and move up into a higher standing in the overall. But they have to have good times. And so far, we've seen some pretty good times. Personal best for all of our guys thus far in the underhand chop. And later on today, we have the pros, but tomorrow is the Nations Cup. Let's take a quick preview of what you can expect to see from the Nations Cup on Sunday.
A very warm welcome to the European Nations Cup. This is a very, very special event.
Ziel ist immer das Wettkampfplatz, egal welchen Wettkampf man macht. Team Freeland's goal is always the gold medal.
Living legend, lethal weapon, mastermind, never tried, tell them all. Big dreams, I got big dreams, just like baby. I've been joining forces with the likes of an agent.
Wir müssen natürlich jeder seine Leistung für sich bringen. Gewertet wird es als Team, also müssen wir als Team stark sein. Ich denke mal, da sind wir ganz gut dieses Jahr aufgestellt.
All of my struggles became lessons well learned. I got desires that keep me grounded, that's for sure. Cause one day we gon' make it out this earth, where's your worth? I'm sick of your talking, you got the wrong one. I'm taking your king and I leave him broken. If I am in second, it's after no one. Just give me a second to let them know. I'm the headline, the deadline. I'm ahead time, the red kind. I'm a living legend, lethal weapon, mastermind. Big time.
Let's not forget, too, you can also get involved in the conversation with our different hashtags. There is hashtag #KissMyAxe, which is one of my favorites. You can also check out hashtag STIHL TIMBERSPORTS and hashtag #ShowYourMoments. Meanwhile, we move on to heat number 3 in the underhand chop with Cyril Piguet up against Niels Rulli. Again, a couple of guys pretty close in their tail of the tape. Any bets on this one?
I'm so bad at bidding.
.37.41 personal best underhand chop for Niels Rulli. Piguet with a 39.17.
Okay. Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Niels Rulli getting right into it. Look at the frequency of his drivers. Fantastic how fast he's cutting. And his accuracy is pretty good as well. Those are nice, clean lines. Rulli on the other side. Piquet on the other side, excuse me. Rulli's already onto his second side of his block. Piquet still working on the first side of his as Rulli is through to personal best. 24.50. Piguet struggling to get started on the second side as he had to regain his balance a little bit there, but he is now into it and starting to work on the second side. The Adiensen hand here is giving him some good support. There's those step ladders you're talking about. That accuracy is so important here because the more accurate you are, the smoother your cuts are, and smooth means fast. But he is through and a 48.47, not his favorite right now. His personal best is much faster. But a great job by Niels Rulli to get a 24.18 and moving into the top spot in the underhand chop.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, both guns are good.
You can always read Bart Janssen. He's going to be the worst poker player ever. By the way he comes up, if you know both cuts are good, he's like, okay, ladies and gentlemen. And if we have a DQ or something, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately. All right, let's take a look at these slow-mos here. I think I want to play poker against Bart one of these days.
So yeah, Niels is unreal how quick and how smooth and accurate his hits were.
Wow, look at that, just so on point. He's barely hopping on his toes either, and there you see that is Piquet.
Niels is a very strong competitor, but also he's got quite the jump getting off the block there. He preferred a little bit relaxer.
A little bit more safe.
You can see how the dog just came out by Piquet's stand.
Yeah, that
so
little...
he's lucky that that didn't pop out while he was chopping.
That hook on the side to secure the log.
Yeah, if the log is loose, then it's very difficult to finish it. Usually they zip tie them up, but he must have forgotten.
Yeah, and this is also the responsibility of the athletes when they put their block on and prepare it on the stand. They put those dogs so there's locks in place, and then they have to zip time them in position so that that block is safe on at least one side, right?
That's right.
All right. So, next heat. Sean Usch going up against Tim Anthofer. Personal best for both of these guys are under 30 seconds. Tim Anthofer 28.96. Sean Usch with a very respectable 21.37.
Okay. Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
Nice start by Usch as he gets that flow going right away with those first few drivers. There we see Tim Anthofer in the orange shoes. I believe the orange shoes belong to Tim. A little bit of a skip there off of that one step that he has. Now, excuse me, the orange shoes belong to Sean Usch, as Tim Anthofer is all black from top to bottom. And it's Anthofer moving over to the other side. Good advantage for him here in this heat. Usch getting a couple of big sticky drivers in there that's not chipping out as he would like, and Anthofer with a 34.87. There's a bit of a disappointed look up at the clock because he knows he can cut better than that, but he is through in a halfway decent time that puts him in second place in the standings for the moment. That's a pretty rough side by Sean Usch, surprising there because of his personal best times, but a 50.66 has him at the moment in fourth place in the standings.
Definitely won't be happy with that time.
Neither one of those guys are going to be really jumping for joy because of those times. Not as fast as we've seen from them in past, for sure.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Both got the goods.
So 50-50 by Sean Usch and a 34.75 cut by Tim Anthofer. So you can see Sean Usch got going pretty quick, got into the flow. His first side looked not that bad.
But he's not very accurate, so he loses a lot of time there, having to redo a hit like this one that we just saw there where it skipped to the other side.
Can't believe I caught that. Oh. Tim Anthofer did a great job, though.
He sure did. Now we see by Sean, his axe is already hitting the center point, so both sides are coming to a point, and we don't really want that. We want to have a little bit of a space in between so that you're not getting those vibrations from hitting the other side.
And then it's a cleaner cut through.
That's
then,
right.
All right, so one more heat to go. One more heat to go in our underhand chop. And we've got some results in the blocks already. We'll take a look at that afterwards. But first, just to give you an idea of what's coming up in our calendar this year, let's have a look at the remaining events of the season. And you can see there video on demand for a lot of those previous events, the Nordic Pro Championships and the German Pro Championships. We're right now live for the Swiss Rookie Cup, and later today we'll have the Swiss Pro Championships. And then tomorrow, the European Nations Rookie and Pros. They're doing it together, so it's a little bit misleading because those athletes are all working as teams in this case. And then we have then the 17th of September, the Australian Rookie and Pro Championships from the Gold Coast in Australia. And then the big one at the end of the year, 28th and 29th of October, we have the individual and team world championships in Gothenburg, Sweden. Tickets are still available if you want to come and join us live at the event. The atmosphere has to be lived in order to be understood at these big events like the World Championships. It's just insane. I'm looking forward to that one.
That's right. I can't wait.
All right, the last heat is coming up on stage. It looks like our blocks are more or less ready, and let's take a look who is going to be competing. Ivan Bambushkar going up against Loic Vincent. Once again, these two guys with some really good personal best times going head-to-head against each other here. And as we say from the start of the show, yes, there are head-to-head battles, but it's about the fastest times. And right now, Niels Rölli is leading in the underhand chop times with a 24:18 personal best. Let's see if either one of these two guys can take them out, as he is also atop the standings with 26 points, tied with Loic Vincent at the moment. So this will be our last heat in the final discipline for our rookies today, and we will know shortly after who is your new rookie champion.
Okay. Athletes ready.
Stand to your timber. 3, 2, 1, go!
So Ivan Bambushkar needs a 48 and change for the win. He starts off well.
Oh, look at those hits.
Switching over to the other side already, about 4 strokes ahead of Loic Vincent, who's now moved over to the other side of his. Looks like Ivan's going to have a good time here today as he's just passing the 20-second mark, and he's done it at 24:31. His time is still running. It's actually 23:56. I don't know why that clock on their screen has not stopped. Loic Vincent still struggling to get through his block, passing the 37-second mark, and he is really having trouble on his second side. That caused big problems for him, and that's going to be a huge disappointment for Loic with a 42.77. That puts him in 4th place in the underhand chop results, but it should be enough to get him the top spot in the overall rankings. We'll take a look at that shortly. Boy, that was a bit of a, I don't know, they say in German, Schwergeburt, you know?
A difficult birth.
A difficult birth for Loic on that one. We know he's definitely better than that, so he was really struggling. Do you think it was because he got tired, the angles changed a bit? Is it too much for him today, or was it the block that he had?
It could very well have also been a little bit from the block, just from my experience from yesterday. But we'll see what if we can see anything here in the slow-mo. Because his hits were good, he's consistent, so I don't think it has too much to do with him.
We just saw the black boots of Ivan Bambushkar, who was just all over that discipline with those last couple of drivers here. It was the second side for Loic that was trouble, though.
He has been training a lot, I do know that, so maybe he is tired. Maybe we'll have a chat with him later.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, just, yeah. That last couple of drivers takes a look at the axe. Now, we talked about this before. There's different types of axes you use. You know, there's the banana blade you mentioned. You were explaining to me about the banana blade as well as the chisel. It's about choosing which one's cutting the best on the day, correct?
That's right, because there's so many different types, so it's up to the athlete what they end up using.
All right, well, whether the question of a 4th place position here in the underhand chop is going to make a difference in the overall ranking. Meanwhile, Ivan Bambushkar with a great result, Niels Rölli with his personal best in 2nd place, and Tim Anthofer from Germany in 3rd place in the underhand chop. Let's take a look at how that affects the overall standings and who is going to be your Swiss rookie champion. So it is Loic Vincent, just 2 points ahead of Ivan Bambushkar with 32 points. Ivan Bambushkar with 30 points. Niels Rölli, he was on top, then he got pushed down to 4th place, then he got moved back up to 3rd place. Good result for him. 25th place in the bronze medal position, Sean Usch, and Piguet, excuse me, with 22 and 17 points respectively in 4th and 5th position. Then we have Anthofer, Bertolet, Stegnitz, and Genier. All right, so there you have it. Our day is not done, but for the rookies it is, as these guys have been working hard on stage, and they've shown us some great skills. We've had a couple of troublesome moments there where we saw that in that last heat for Loic Vincent really struggling, but all in all, great performances across the board. Loic held on, and he will be your winner here today with a solid 32 points on the day. Your thoughts on the action so far?
Well, I think it was a great competition, a lot of personal bests, which is always great for these young athletes. Gives them the confidence to continue and stay with the sport.
Absolutely, and we had an intermediate athlete competing who you didn't see in the overall list there, but it was his opportunity to gain a little more experience and also add some personal best times in his first competition out there. So big congratulations to all of them. We're going to head back up to the stage now for the awards ceremony, and we'll also meet all of the athletes one more time on stage before we get our top 3 guys on the podiums. All right, so what we'll do is we'll bring all our athletes out from bottom to top, and there is our one intermediate athlete, Dominik Gygax, coming up on stage. As he is an intermediate athlete, he doesn't get the ranking in the rookie rankings, but a great opportunity for him to be out there and competing and getting some points. Louis Guinier coming up on stage now, 9th place for him in the Swiss Rookie Cup. Joining him, Benjamin Stegnitz from France. And again, this is, 9th, 8th, 7th spots. This is not the worst thing in the world for these guys because it's an opportunity for them to improve and benefit from the experience of competition.
That's right, and kind of see where you stand in line to your teammates or international athletes that are...
All right, there you see Romain Bertolet just up on stage. Joining him now from Germany, Tim Anthofer, the only guy in competition so far with a DQ for the rookies at least. We did have Weiach with a DQ for a false start, but in the rookie ranks so far it's just Tim Anthofer with a cutout on the stocks, unfortunately. Cyril Piguet coming up on stage. This little Piguet got 5th place. I couldn't help myself, sorry. Next up on stage, number 4, Sean Usch. And then we will bring up our top 3 athletes for the 2022 Swiss Rookie Cup. I love the camaraderie with all of these guys, and I'm also noticing there's little bottles of champagne for everybody, so this is going to be a disaster on stage, but here we go. 3rd place from Switzerland, Niels Rölli. So the bronze medalist goes to Niels Rölli with a great showing here today.
So the bottles are still closed, so I'm gonna go with that. They're gonna have to wait till later.
Could be, yeah. So Niels, 3rd place in the stock saw. He had a 5th place in the standing block chop. He was 5th in the single buck and 2nd in the underhand chop, and takes 3rd place here today. 2nd place in our silver medalist from Czechia, I'm going to go with that, is Ivan Bambushka. And looking back at the way the day ran for him, he got a 4th place in the stock saw. He was 2nd in standing block chop. He was 3rd in single buck, and he was the top guy in the underhand chop. Very consistent performances for him today.
Indeed.
And I'm not sure, but I think that might be Ralph Turke, who is the general manager of STIHL Switzerland.
That's right.
Giving out the awards today. And now coming up onto stage, our champion, it is Loic Vincent from France. He had a second place in the stock saw. He was the #1 competitor in standing block chop, the #1 in the single buck, and struggled mightily in the underhand chop in 4th place, but it was enough to get him the top spot on the podium and the gold medal. And I have to agree with you, I can't imagine that they would let these guys go bananas with the champagne right now, especially as there are 9 bottles out there. That will be a disaster for the athletes coming up with the pro ranks later on. So it might be that they'll come back out later on and do the shake and soak, and we'll hear the French anthem now in celebration of Loïc Vincent winning it. And just looking out the door of our studio here, I could see a couple of people in the front row waving the flag. There, you can see it in the camera shot as well. Absolutely fantastic. And it looks like they're actually going to let these guys pop the corks. They're going to have to do a big cleanup.
This is the best part.
This is the best part. But look at that. 9 bottles of champagne up there, and it is going to need a mop and a cleaning. Absolutely fantastic. Oh, correct. 10 bottles of champagne up there. Guy Hex chasing some of the staff in the background as well. What a day it's been for the rookies, and it is not over yet. A lot of action still to come our way. We have the pro competition coming at you as these guys get the last little bit of cheers and kampai and skål on stage. What a way to celebrate this one. And yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit surprised that they did the champagne shower, but I'm happy with 10 bottles of champagne out there. It's been fantastic. I mean, the rookies have really shown us what we can expect down the road as they start to improve. A few new guys coming in, getting their first personal best scores, and as well a few guys gaining some experience, and a few guys we're going to see moving on to the pro ranks sooner than later. We hope you enjoyed our show today. I'm Troy Mannering for Jolanda Gnadinger. Thank you again for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me.
And being our expert. We'll both be back for the pros this afternoon at 3 o'clock. Please join us. Until then, take care, everybody, and ciao.